Hello and welcome to episode 15. Today we're at World's End and we're capturing some long exposures.
So, well, I've just arrived at World's End. The clouds have shifted in a direction that I didn't really want them to go, but I have to go with what I have to go with. So I'm just gonna try to set up my gear, try to find a composition. The issue, or rather the problem here that I had to solve, is to find a nice foreground. It's not that obvious here, so well, I'm gonna have to go get to work on that now. Hopefully the audio isn't too much of a problem. It's quite windy, as you probably can see in my hair. And yeah, hopefully it turns out okay. Well, I'm not really satisfied with what I could find at this place. So I'm gonna try to walk around a bit to another place I can see just a bit over there and see if there is any better over there. If it is, I'll come back and get my gear and we'll all go over there instead. So well, I've found something that is going to work a lot better just a bit over there. So we're gonna go there now. Well, so I've decided on what I'm going to use as a foreground. It's not going to be an ideal shot, anything of this, but I do have like one trick up my sleeve that I might be able to get something that is a bit more interesting in this shot. It's first and foremost, it's going to be quite a long exposure because it's really a lot of movement in the water. And I need to smooth that out. Also, I'm not really sure how the clouds are gonna behave after the sun dips below. It might kick back some color and it might go just nothing, completely bleak. So we'll have to see about that as well. Anyway, I'm just gonna get started with my composition here. And the camera is gonna stay in the same position the whole time after I set it up, and then I'm gonna wait here until the human lights get on in the town on the other side of the lake, and that might be what adds a bit of interest to this shot. That is my trick up the sleeve. Well, I've managed to set up the camera. I'm on a long exposure at the moment. Got 40 seconds left. It's a 2-minute exposure, so the water gets extremely smooth, and yeah, well, I think it's best to show you what I'm using as a composition. So here we have the camera. and you can see these rocks here is what forms the foreground, and then you can see the background here, and the clouds, they are kind of streaky, even though, well, even without using a long exposure, so they get kind of extremely streaky when I do put on the ND filter and do a long exposure. Well, I'll show you on the screen how the picture actually looks. But as you can see over here, I don't know if you can see. Wait, I'm gonna zoom a bit. And I'm not sure if you can see, but over here there is actually a small town. Well, I'm hoping that the town is gonna turn on the lights in perhaps an hour or something. Hopefully a bit sooner. Yeah, well, it's starting to. The brightness level is starting to go down a bit, so hopefully they're gonna turn on them within a half an hour. Well, what I'm planning to use that for is, I have the exposure that I have now. I think that is the most interesting color in the sky, and then I'm just gonna take when the lit up town, and I'm gonna edit that in just that portion of the image, a bit like Elia Locardi does. So yeah, that's my trick up my sleeve thingy. Yeah, so I guess it's just time to wait for. Well, first of all, I'm gonna see if something more happens in the clouds, if they're gonna come out any more color in the cloud. That would be great for me. It would give quite a bit more depth to the image. So yeah, well, I'm guessing I'm just gonna sit and wait a bit. Put on some music, just relax. Well, as you might have seen in the time lapse I just showed you, there actually came quite a lot of color at the horizon. It really surprised me. I put you on the time lapse, then I turned around and I was doing some things with my phone. I was just putting on some music and, well, looking up some other things, and then I turned back and suddenly there was a lot of color. Well, it was like a big surprise for me, at least. I was not really prepared for it, but, or well, not prepared is the wrong word, I guess, but it took me by surprise, at least. So I think that the current light level in the town is as bright as it's going to get. So I'm gonna call this session done, and I'm gonna start to pack up and head home. Well, what do I think of today's shoot? I think it was quite interesting. It's really nice to walk out here. As you probably saw in the introduction, in the journey section, it's actually a really beautiful walk to take. When I came here, it was so much wind. I'm really hoping that any of the audio that I recorded got back to you, so you can hear it. But it was so windy, and I didn't manage to find any good foreground at the start, so I was feeling kind of beaten almost at point there. But well, I saw this place where I am now, and I went over here and I found this little rock section in the water that was far more interesting than anything I could see over at the first location. considering the amount of wind and the amount of movement in the water, I knew I had to make it a long exposure, or else it would just look so rugged. Yeah, well, so I did that, and it looked kind of amazing. I think the picture is actually gonna look quite nice. But as usual, I'll have to see when I get it into the computer. Then I did this one last thing with with the light from the town on the other side, and hopefully that's gonna bring a bit more interest. I mean, the background section is quite thin actually, so it's not like it's gonna make or break the shot, but I think it's gonna add like a tiny bit of more interest. Anyway, the lights are dropping really low now, so yeah, I think I'm just gonna have to finish it here, and that's it for this week's episode. If you liked it, please like it and share it. If you want to see more, please subscribe. Click here for last week's episode, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.